Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to take something that usually feels like a giant, stress-inducing puzzle of government bureaucracy, the kind complete with terrible elevator hold music, and we're going to transform it into a crystal clear, totally stress-free roadmap. Whether you're planning your very first trip overseas, or you're a seasoned traveler whose documents are just about to expire, figuring out exactly which administrative lane you belong in is absolutely crucial. We've taken the liberty of synthesizing all the official guidelines right here, so you can get your paperwork sorted and just get back to planning your itinerary.
So, we're taking a fork-in-the-road approach today. We'll be looking at choosing your application path, applying for a new passport, the online renewal option, gathering your required documents, and finally, receiving your travel documents. I promise, whatever your specific travel situation happens to be, we're going to cover exactly what you need to know.
All right, part one, choosing your application path. Let's figure out your route. Are you going in person or can you do it online?
Okay, let's dive into this. The immediate question you've got to ask yourself is simply, do you have to apply in person? Figuring this out instantly reveals your required administrative lane. You really can't just guess here, guys. The Department of State has very strict rules on who is actually allowed to mail things in or apply online versus who has to physically go stand in front of an acceptance agent.
Basically, if you hit any of the strict criteria on screen, which comes straight from the official DS-11 form, you are literally mandated to physically show up to a passport acceptance facility, like a designated post office or library. You absolutely must apply in person if this is your very first U.S. passport or if you're under the age of 16. Plus, if your previous passport was issued when you were under 16, or if it was issued way back, like over 15 years ago, you're heading in person too. And of course, no surprise here, if your previous passport was lost, stolen, or severely damaged, you're on the in-person route. Now, if none of these apply to you, well, you might just have some other options, which we'll get to in just a second.
Part two, applying for a new passport. Let's walk through that traditional in-person journey for those of you who just realized you meet those criteria.
Take a look at the official seal and header of the DS-11 form we've got up here. This is exactly what the physical form is going to look like when you print it out or pick it up at a local facility. You'll need to fill this whole thing out using black ink only, and it is super important that you print legibly. If you mess up, you can't just cross it out or use whiteout. Actually, scratch that. You have to start a completely new form. And here is a massive pro tip for you. Do not sign this form yet. No way. You have to wait until you're face-to-face with an authorized agent. They have to witness your signature and administer an oath.
Let's move to and see how this builds into an actual plan. Here is your four-step roadmap for the in-person process. Step 1, you complete that DS-11 form we just talked about. Step 2, you gather up your personal documents. So that's your citizenship evidence, an acceptable photo ID, photocopies of all those documents, and a 2x2-inch color photograph. Step 3 is absolutely crucial. Schedule your appointment. A lot of acceptance facilities require appointments nowadays, and they have super limited hours. Finally, step 4 is showing up for that appointment with your form and attachments and paying the required fees.
Right, so I want to strongly emphasize the rules for applicants under the age of 16, because missing these specific details is a massive reason families get turned away at the door. The minor child absolutely must appear in person alongside their parents or legal guardians. You also have to provide concrete evidence of the child's relationship to the parents, usually a birth certificate that actually lists the parents' names. Furthermore, both parents have to provide consent. If only one parent can actually make it to the appointment, you've got to bring specific documentation for the absent parent. This is usually a notarized written statement called Form DS-3533, along with a photocopy of that second parent's ID.
Moving right along to part 3, the online renewal option, or as I like to call it, the digital fast track.
Okay, so the State Department has launched this new online passport renewal system. But to use this portal, you really have to thread a very specific needle. You must be 25 or older, and the passport you're renewing has to have been valid for a full 10 years, specifically issued between 2009 and 2015. On top of that, you can't use this system if you're trying to change your name, gender, date of birth, or place of birth. And finally, because this whole thing is a beta release with daily application limits, you cannot use this option if you're planning to travel internationally in less than 8 weeks. But hey, if you actually meet those strict criteria, the digital workflow is beautifully streamlined. Step 1, you create a secure MyTravelGov account online. Step 2, you start your renewal application. Keep in mind, the system opens for a limited midday window each day and actually closes once it hits capacity, so be quick.
Step 3 is uploading an original digital passport photo in JPEG format. You can't just scan a paper photo. It doesn't work like that. And Step 4, you just pay your passport fees electronically using a credit or debit card or via an ACH transfer directly from your bank.
So, the crucial point is this warning right here. Keep your most recent passport. If you successfully use the online renewal system, the passport you're renewing gets immediately canceled. You cannot use it for international travel while you're waiting for the new one to arrive. And, totally unlike the traditional mail-in renewal process, you should absolutely not mail this old, canceled passport to the Department of State. Just keep it somewhere safe at home.
All right, part 4, gathering your required documents. Let's bring both our in-person and online paths back together to talk proof, photos, and fees.
First and foremost, you must prove you are a citizen. Your primary citizenship evidence has to be original or certified copies. A standard photocopy alone will just not cut it. Don't worry though, your original evidence will actually be reviewed and mailed right back to you. The most common examples we see are a U.S. birth certificate that lists your parents' full names and has a registrar's seal, or a fully valid, undamaged U.S. passport. Believe it or not, even an expired one works. Now, if you were born outside the U.S. or you just lack these specific documents, there's a whole list of secondary evidence you can provide, things like early census or hospital records. But definitely always aim for primary evidence first.
Let's talk about the dreaded passport photo. Honestly, failing to follow the photo rules is one of the absolute quickest ways to stall an application. We all know passport photos are famously unflattering, but the rules are rigid for sure. Whether it's physical or digital, the image must be taken within the last 6 months. Your head has to face the camera straight on. No eyeglasses are allowed at all, unless you happen to have a signed doctor's statement for a medical exception. No uniforms, no camouflage attire, you just need to wear your normal everyday clothing. The background must be a plain white or off-white. And really importantly for those online digital uploads, no selfies. You literally have to have someone else take the picture for you.
Just a quick note on the financial side of things. Passport fees are established by law, and they are entirely non-refundable, even if, worst-case scenario, your application is denied. For those of you applying in person, it's vital to know you'll likely be making 2 completely separate payments. One is the application fee that goes to the Department of State, and the second is a separate execution fee made payable directly to the acceptance facility, like the post office.
Part 5. Receiving your travel documents. We've applied, paid, and submitted our perfect photos. Let's see what happens at the final destination.
And this brilliantly illustrates a really important choice you have to make during the application, which dictates what actually arrives in your mailbox. You can apply for a passport book, a passport card, or both. The U.S. passport book is the gold standard, guys, valid for all international travel by air, land, and sea. The passport card, on the other hand, is cheaper and a lot more convenient to carry in your wallet, but it is highly restricted. It's valid only for land border crossings and seaports of entry when traveling from Canada, Mexico, Bermuda, and the Caribbean. You literally cannot use the passport card for international air travel. Knowing this difference right now will absolutely save you from booking a flight you can't even board.
Okay, let's calm some common anxiety about checking the mailbox. Your newly issued passport and the original citizenship evidence you submitted, like that precious original birth certificate, will be mailed back to you. However, they are intentionally sent in separate mailings. This is just to prevent a total identity loss if a single package somehow goes missing. So if you ordered both a book and a card, you might honestly get 3 separate envelopes on completely different days. Also, just be aware that your new passport will have a completely different passport number than your previous one, so definitely don't try to book flights using your old number while you wait.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is just how blunt the federal government is about following instructions. This is a direct warning from the DS-11 form. Missing a signature, forgetting to write down your social security number, or uploading a bad photo won't just result in a polite phone call reminding you to fix it, it results in significant processing delays or the outright denial of your non-refundable application. So, attention to detail is truly your best friend here.
So after learning these strict rules for applying in person versus using that beta online system, hearing those unyielding photo requirements, and understanding the very distinct difference between a passport book and a card, I just have to ask, are your documents ready for your next global adventure? Or is an expired document secretly standing between you and your vacation? Don't let bureaucracy ground you. Go check your passport expiration date right now, pull together that birth certificate, and conquer the process today. Thanks so much for focusing in with me, and safe travels out there.